This is breaking news on Sky. Declan Rice has spoken with Bayern Munich head coach Thomas Tuchel as the Bundesliga champions step up their pursuit of the West Ham midfielder. And Florian Plettenberg, German football expert, says there was a phone call with Tuchel a few days ago. I've been told it was a good talk. Both appreciate each other. Rice is open to join Bayern and Tuchel. FCB want to intensify their efforts now. He's still a transfer target. But time is running out as he could sign for Arsenal. That's from Sky Sports Germany. But first and foremost, Sean, and I don't like selling other clubs' players, I guess, I don't know how these things work these days. If it's now public knowledge they've spoken, presumably he's had permission to speak to Bayern Munich.
I couldn't say for sure about that, but I think West Ham understand that he's going to move on. I don't think they're going to dig in and start fining it. You're not going to fine him, or you, and ban him for 2 weeks with this final coming up. I think there are certain players who probably have earned the right to talk to other clubs now, providing the other club is prepared to pay the money. The interesting thing about this story is all the stories this morning were Tuchel might not last the day as Bayern Munich manager. Jan Fjortov, who's well known as for working in Germany on German TV and on this programme as well, he was quite sure, I think, that Tuchel was on the way out. Even though he won the Bundesliga yesterday, Bayern Munich's a bit of a mess. Even though they won the league, they haven't got director of football. They haven't got the sporting director.
In an hour's time, Andy Brassel will be joining us to go through all the things that happened in Europe over the weekend, including the utter chaos at Bayern Munich.
But do you not agree with me on Rice that probably he has got a free pass to talk to other clubs through West Ham? They're not going to start getting heavy-handed with him, are they?
No, that seems to be their attitude. And I suppose as long as they get the, I mean, what is the fella worth, Scott? You know, he's the best English midfielder of his type. I mean, Bellingham's a different kind of player, obviously. And of course, Bayern Munich would love to get Bellingham, but I think Dortmund would probably, after what's happened in the last 48 hours, probably say, really, you don't even make the phone call. But because West Ham will be looking for 100 million euros, won't they?
Well, that's the question, Danny, isn't it? I think all West Ham fans have resigned themselves that he's going. I think they understand why he's going. He's a Champions League player, you know, an international Champions League player. He needs to be playing Champions League football. So, and with 2 years left in his contract, I think the club have probably said, look, give us 1 more year and we're here now. So, absolutely, it's pretty open, it's happening. This actually doesn't really tell me anything. It just tells me that, hey, I'm up for sale. And West Ham are probably happy with this coming out, actually, because the more people you can get involved in the bidding then war, yeah. Absolutely. So West Ham might even have helped in doing that, because I'm pretty sure they've had a sort of a bit of agreement to say, look, yeah, okay, you can go, but we want the right figure. And what I would say is I think that David Sullivan is not a Daniel Levy, that he'll be a little bit more realistic in terms of the figure that he wants. So I have no doubt, unfortunately, that he won't be a West Ham player next season. The question is where and how much. He's
a rare type of player, though, in that even if when he goes, he'll actually go with the blessing of all the West Ham fans because of the way he's conducted himself all the time. He's very, very popular there. They know he deserves to move to a new club, and he's going with no rancour or animosity whatsoever. When he comes back with... Well, if it's Bayern Munich, he probably won't be coming back to play there. But when he walks back on that pitch with whichever club he's with in the years to come, he'll be cheered back onto that pitch. But it's fantastic. Is Bayern Munich a good move for him, though, Dan? That's the question. Does that look like a sensible one?
It's a really interesting one, because it has been... I was just going to say as well, he would go, of course, with even greater delight from the West Ham fans if he could be lifting that trophy towards the sky. Yep. The first West Ham captain since Bobby Moore to lift a European trophy. That would be amazing, and it's going to be a tough game that they've got against Fiorentina, but it'll be a good game to watch. The issue, Sean, is this: for 3, 4, 5 years now, everybody at Bayern Munich has assumed that the midfield pairing of Kimmich and Goretzka is the best in the world, and that they are going to build their team around that, and they're going to win everything with those two in midfield. And for a variety of reasons, and if Kevin Hatchard was here, he would explain them to me, it hasn't quite worked out in the national side or with Bayern Munich. But in order to go there, they're going to have to change their system slightly, or they're going to have to move aside one of two players that they think are absolutely wonderful. My guess is they're going to go change the system and play an extra midfielder, because their traditional style of two wide players, out-and-out wingers and a centre-forward has not worked at all this season. The lack of Lewandowski and the fact that Sadio Mane hasn't quite clicked there, has left them in chaos up front. Now, they got over the line because Dortmund are the Spurs of Middle Europe, and found a way to lose that game at the weekend. But I think if they get Rice, it must tell me that they're changing something big at the club.
What I would say is I think Declan Rice is versatile enough and good enough to play in a number of positions in that central midfield.
I think he can play further forward.
Absolutely, and people say that he doesn't score enough goals. I think it's because he's felt a responsibility of, he knows that Thomas Tuchel wants to get forward, so he's almost been that senior pro, even though he's a very young age.
Back into that space,
no, and Paquetá's actually been pushed forward to be more of a number 10. So if Tuchel's pushing on as well, he's got to hold the fort. And I worked on the game for talkSPORT against Manchester United, and they were really under the cosh in the first 20 minutes. And we were talking up Declan Rice before the game, and I said, look, if we're going to be talking about him as being this top level player and bordering on world class, he needs to somehow grab the game by the scruff of the neck. But I'm thinking he can't do this on his own. But he did. He did. Yeah. He actually started to turn it around, and he ran the show himself. So
he's a brilliant player. Two
things here. One, I would say is, as Sean said, if Tuchel's going to go in a day and he isn't in a day and he's the next day or whatever, why would you want to go to a club that's that sort of... It's a Hollywood type mess, isn't it, over there? But two, I just get the feeling, and I don't know him, but from what I can tell of him, he loves England and just wants to be in England. I love the fact that Jude Bellingham's gone abroad, and who knows, he's going to go to Real Madrid and experience Spain. I just get the feeling Declan Rice, especially with the clubs like Arsenal or Manchester United coming in for him, you can stay in the Premier League, and I think that would suit him better.
But isn't Bayern Munich a better option than Arsenal? If you just stood there, dispassionate footballer, Bayern Munich always challenging in getting into the Champions League latter stages. They'll probably win the league. Is that not a more attractive proposition?
Depends whether you're willing
Arsenal that probably won't win the league.
Depends if you're willing to, really wanting to go abroad or not. That's the big thing. If you're really open to it, and I've done it and I loved it, but I couldn't have done it at a young age in the way that Jude Bellingham did. But
maybe Bellingham's the example now to Declan Rice, that you can go to Germany. Now it hasn't worked out. Callum Hudson-Odoi.
Depends on the individual, Dan. Depends on the individual and the mentality.
Sure. I'm not certain in the chaos at the moment that Bayern Munich could come up with the readies that West Ham United would be looking for. But anyway, there's the story. There has been a conversation between Thomas Tuchel and Declan Rice.